Today's video is brought to you by water. Have you ever wondered where your water comes from? I pretty much always do and look into it, and in Toronto I was surprised when I learned about the R.C. Harris water treatment plant.
It's a nifty building.
So today's nifty building is a water treatment plant. The R.C. Harris water treatment plant, or filtration plant, or whatever you want to call it. For about a third to a half of Toronto's water, this is actually where it enters the city's clean water system. If you're not familiar with it, you're probably wondering why I'm filming a water filtration plant, but if you are, then you know that this is a giant Art Deco compound that is unlike anything else in the city. The Palace of Purification, as it's known, was designed in the 1920s, but wasn't actually opened until the 1940s. It features 3 buildings, this sort of quarter of a kilometer long filtration basin plant, a central service station which used to house generators and steam plants and things, but today is mostly just administrative or tooling and things, and then this giant pumping station which exists down by the water. The whole building just bleeds Art Deco in every single detail. And it's not just a Art Deco facade sort of slapped on an otherwise ugly piece of public infrastructure. The entire interior is also meticulously designed to conform with Art Deco principles. Every single floor is covered in herring-tooth tile, and these big Nautilus shell-shaped pumps move all of the water around, and everything is symmetric and geometric and colored to look like it's fresh out of a 1920s sci-fi movie. It's super cool. What I love most about it is that this isn't just some sort of Art Deco art piece or museum or sort of restored old building just for the sake of keeping something Art Deco alive. This is a 100% functional facility. And I think that the most beautiful architecture you can have is when you blend that sort of beauty with something that is functional. And this place definitely is, and has been right since it opened. So for the last 80 years or so, about 2.5 kilometers offshore, there's big pipes that slurp up about 1 billion liters of water every day and pump it into the plant, where it's run through grates to get rid of any big obvious chunks of seaweed or something. And then a coagulant is added to get rid of most of the little microbes that like to swim around in the lake. The coagulant clumps them all together in a way that they won't pass through a filter very easily. Then all the water is pumped over these giant Britas, basically. They're big charcoal beds that the water can settle on. All the coagulant makes all the things collect in the charcoal or the increasingly coarse sort of stones that are there. The water all goes down into the bottom in perfectly clear condition. Chlorine and fluoride is added, and then about 950 million liters of water every day is added to the Toronto water supply for everybody to drink or shower in or do whatever they choose to do with water. Unlike a Brita, though, they actually have to meet water quality standards. They can't just use the same filter day after day with whatever microbes are living in there. So they have to backwash these filters during, off-peak times. So they pump water in from the bottom, and this lifts all of these nasties out. They then spin it in giant centrifuges, which collects all the crud in the center, and they put that into big bins and dispose of it, and then pump most of the rest of that backwash water back into the lake. So that's pretty cool as well. Along with the Art Deco stuff on the inside, there are things like this clock or these indicator lights. These are actually 100% functional. The clock indicates different levels at different points of the plant. It's not really needed anymore because it's mostly automated, but at the time it was completely useful, and these lights do actually indicate which pumps are running. These cool giant cast iron pumps are also the same ones from 80 years ago. They were built to last and are still actually quite efficient. That's why all this construction is going on right now. It's not some cute cosmetic restoration project. They're adding another settling basin and increasing the residue handling capacity and increasing the security of Toronto's water supply so that in the future we don't have to worry about certain vulnerabilities that they weren't really planning for when this was designed in the 1920s. And they're able to do all of this while maintaining that beautiful Art Deco style because all things considered, it's actually a pretty functional way to build things without being as aggressively bland as most modern sort of public infrastructure projects are. If you look at the newer water plants, they're literally just concrete rectangles. It's without a doubt one of Toronto's most beautiful buildings, and it's actually won a bunch of awards, both for architecture and for being an example of Art Deco, but also from civil engineers for actually being a really reliable and maintainable water treatment plant, which I think is just so cool. It's also been featured in a bunch of movies. It makes a great evil lair or asylum or something like that. And it's also got a steady stream of wedding photographers coming here just to get your pictures among these bricks and big green rolling hills, which again have holding tanks underneath all of them. But I think that for the most part, it's pretty unknown among people in Toronto. I think it's really just people from this neighborhood walking their dog and stuff. And I think that's also really cool. So now you know what lies at the end of Queen Street if you ever feel like venturing that far east, where a good portion of Toronto's drinking water comes from, and really just a beautiful example of a building that is both 10 out of 10 as just a building to look at and architecturally, but it's also 10 out of 10 on being practical and really accomplishing what it was designed to do, considering it's been doing it for 80 years now and they haven't even had to replace the pumps or anything because everything was just built to a standard that I'm just not convinced modern stuff is. Anyway, have a beautiful day. The entire inside is designed the exact same way. It's herring booth